Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, depending on where you are on this planet. Welcome to Gender Chronicles. Dive into the fascinating world of gender dynamics as we unravel the threads of tradition, change, and identity. Together, we'll explore the intricate relationships between the sexes, empowering you to navigate them with clarity, confidence, and insight. In this edition of Gender Chronicles, we're diving into a topic that has sparked intense debates in academia, politics, and everyday life. Let's call it the 6 problems of gender studies. While it might seem like a world confined to the halls of colleges and universities, the ideas from gender studies have trickled down, influencing how we think about identity, relationships, and power in our everyday lives. For many of you, the term gender studies may evoke images of activists or professors with strong views on gender and society. But what is gender studies really about? More importantly, is it helping us build a better society? Or is it destroying the social structures that have made life possible so far without offering any viable alternatives? Has it kept the baby while throwing the bathwater, or has it thrown the baby with the bathwater? Let's take a closer look at the strengths, weaknesses, and controversies in this field. Origins and contributions of gender studies. Gender studies grew out of feminist movements of the 20th century, particularly the second wave of feminism. At its core, the discipline was designed to critically analyze how gender shapes power, inequality, and identity. Scholars like Simone de Beauvoir, with her groundbreaking work The Second Sex, argued that one is not born but rather becomes a woman, challenging fixed notions of gender and paving the way for debates about social constructions of identity. The field has contributed immensely to our understanding of historical injustices and gendered inequalities. It has highlighted issues such as the wage gap, domestic violence, and barriers to women's participation in education and the workforce. It has also drawn attention to intersectionality, or the overlapping systems of oppression, race, class, gender, that shape people's lives. But as gender studies evolved, so did the critiques. Let's examine some of the most pressing concerns, keeping in mind both the field's contributions and its shortcomings. Problem 1. Intellectual monoculture. One major critique of gender studies is the dominance of postmodern and social constructivist frameworks. These perspectives emphasize the idea that gender is entirely a social construct, fluid and detached from biology. While this lens has merits, it has marginalized other important perspectives, such as those from evolutionary psychology or biological anthropology. Take the work of evolutionary psychologists like David Buss. Buss argues that some gender differences are rooted in biological and evolutionary processes, such as differing reproductive strategies. But in many gender studies programs, such views are dismissed or outright ignored. This intellectual monoculture not only stifles debate, but also leaves students with an incomplete understanding of gender. The suppression of dissenting views also raises concerns about academic rigor. If classrooms and lecture halls prioritize political advocacy over critical inquiry, are students truly being educated or indoctrinated? The scholar Camille Paglia warns of this shift, arguing that academia has abandoned its responsibility to engage with challenging ideas in favor of ideological conformity. Problem 2. Neglecting men's issues. While gender studies emerged to address the systemic oppression of women, the entire field is gynocentric through and through, no matter which college or university one looks at. In the current status quo, the whole world revolves and must, as a matter of course, revolve around women. Period. Gender studies neglect, as a cardinal rule, the challenges faced by men. Let's talk about some of these. 1. Male suicide and mental health. Men account for nearly 75% of suicide deaths globally. Gender studies rarely explores the societal pressures, like the expectation to man up, that contribute to these alarming statistics. 2. Fatherlessness and family roles. The absence of fathers in many households is linked to poorer outcomes for children. The alienation of children from their fathers should be treated as child abuse and a violation of the rights of the child. But gender studies often fails to engage with the importance of fatherhood beyond critiquing patriarchal family structures. This is an active implementation and promotion of misandry, often expressed in statements such as, "Women are strong and independent and don't need no men. Men are useless." Or, "Men are trash." 3. Educational underachievement. Boys are falling behind in education, with lower college enrollment rates compared to girls. This trend is a silent crisis, yet it's seldom addressed in gender studies curricula. This is the neglect of the boy child is child abuse, and it violates the rights of the boy child in the most profound ways. Even when masculinity is discussed, it is often framed in terms of toxic masculinity. When men's issues are discussed, it is the patriarchy. Men are and have always been the enemy. While it's important to critique harmful behaviors, this narrow focus has alienated men by ignoring the positive contributions and adaptive roles of masculinity. That is why, for men, social sciences and humanities in colleges are things to be endured rather than learned. This condition suffocates men's minds, souls, and spirits. Problem 3. Extreme identity politics. Another contentious issue is the field's reliance on identity politics. While the concept of intersectionality introduced by Kimberly Krenshaw has deepened our understanding of overlapping oppressions, its overemphasis can lead to fragmentation. In some cases, this results in what critics call competitive victimhood, where groups compete to be recognized as the most oppressed. This can weaken solidarity across movements and reduce individuals to fixed identities, male, female, black, white, ignoring broader systemic and economic issues. Furthermore, identity politics can overshadow practical solutions. For example, debates about pronouns and microaggressions often take center stage, while pressing issues like income inequality or access to quality education receive less attention. Problem 4. Poor empirical foundations. Many gender studies programs prioritize qualitative methods like narrative analysis and ethnography. While these methods are valuable for exploring lived experiences, they lack the empirical rigor needed to substantiate broader claims about society. You will be hard-pressed to find gender studies assigned readings based on statistical analysis. And please do not tell me about exceptions, because they do not neutralize the general rule. Scholars like Steven Pinker have called for greater integration of the natural sciences in understanding gender. For example, neuroscience research has revealed differences in brain structure and function between men and women. Ignoring such findings limits the field's ability to engage with a fuller picture of gender. Students enrolled in gender studies are actively and deliberately steered in the direction of anti-neuroscience and anti-evolutionary biology, and psychology. Thoughts of natural sciences in gender studies are viewed as unforgivable sins, as heresy. Problem 5. Cultural myopia and Eurocentrism. Another critical issue is the Western-centric lens of gender studies. Traditional gender roles in non-Western societies are often portrayed as uniformly oppressive without considering cultural contexts. For instance, in some African and Asian cultures, women have held positions of power and influence within family and community structures, challenging simplistic notions of patriarchy. The concept of patriarchy itself is often presented as a universal structure of male domination. Yet its manifestations vary widely across cultures and historical periods. Overgeneralizing erases these nuances and risks imposing Western feminist ideals on diverse societies. Finally, Problem 6. Disconnection from the real world. While gender studies excels at critiquing societal norms, it often struggles to connect these critiques to the real world or offer practical solutions. For instance, how can we reform family law to support working parents better? What policies can address the gender wage gap without penalizing businesses? How can schools engage boys and girls in ways that reflect their different learning needs? How can we ensure that when parents divorce, the children are not deprived of love and affection from one or the other parent? By focusing on abstract theorizing, things that lack congruence with reality, gender studies alienates the broader public. It is a windowless monad that is useless to society. Meanwhile, taxpayers' funds are wasted in financing such liability programs. As scholar Christina Hoff points out, academic jargon and theoretical abstraction make the field inaccessible, further widening the gap between academia and society. The result is that graduates are least equipped to grapple with real-life challenges, whether professional or personal. So what is the path forward? Despite these critiques, gender studies remains an important field. We must push for greater intellectual diversity and a broader engagement with empirical research to address its deficiencies. Integrating perspectives from the natural sciences, expanding discussions of men's issues, and embracing cultural pluralism can enrich the discipline. We must also move beyond the classroom walls. Gender studies has the potential to influence policy, education, and public discourse in meaningful ways, but only if it becomes more inclusive and solution-oriented. For gender studies to truly serve society, it must change. It must welcome dissenting voices, engage with hard evidence, and address the real-world issues facing women and men equally. Only then can we have a conversation about gender that uplifts everyone. Thank you for watching. If you found this video thought-provoking or inspiring, join the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to stay connected. Do you have a topic on your mind? Share your ideas with us. We're always eager to explore what matters to you.